Thank you, Tim. Welcome to the Unshakable Foundation's meeting of Cocaine Anonymous. This is a main share meeting, and it is today with great pleasure and much gratitude that we have Texas from Berlin, who will be sharing for up to 40 minutes on the topic of the DER factor. So, Texas, it's over to you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Howdy, everybody. I'm Texas T, and I'm an alcohol and drug addict. And first of all, I'm going to ask, would I have partied with these people? I love that reading. I love that reading. It's really funny. All the stuff, like one of my favorite things is that just for today, I will do something nice for someone and not get found out. Why did someone have to tell me that? It was because I have the disease that centers in my mind that tells me I need approval. My ego needs approval. My ego needs a pat on the back. I need to tell everybody when I do something nice. And that, but I love it. That's how immature I am, that I had to have just for today. I will do something nice and not get found out. I needed a higher power that could teach me how to be nice and kind without wanting anything in return. And I do have a higher power that has taught me how to be kind without needing anything in return. And my ego, well, whatever. I don't serve my ego anymore. I serve my higher power, and my higher power serves me. We're like this. We're like Siamese twins. I got sober December 25th, the day after Young, only a few years later, December 25th, 1990, and in Los Angeles, California. And the reason lately I've been a little bit serious. So today I'm going to celebrate Rule 62. If anybody doesn't know what Rule 62 is, it's don't take yourself so seriously. I've been taking myself so seriously lately that I've been getting a wrinkle in between my eyebrows. And that's bad. I mean, I don't really care if I get a wrinkle, but those muscles are tired. And that's how I could say, man, I tell you what, I'm wearing it out. So anyway, I'm probably going to be a little goofier than usual today, a little sillier, but hopefully it'll make this party even more fun, because I tell you what, every 12-step meeting I go to, I find it to be a great party, because every meeting I go to, I get another spiritual awakening. I get filled up. And that's what I live for. I used to live for the drugs and the alcohol to fill me up and to numb everything. But all it really did was intensify my ego. I had no idea that my ego was going to become so warped, because it was an artificial solution to my not fitting in and feeling uncomfortable in my own skin. It gave me that false sense of self-esteem and security, where this making this 12-step program a way of life has given me a true sense of security and self-esteem. And that is due to my higher power again, because I stopped living in the power of me, which was the alcoholism, the self-talking mind, and the ego. And Chuck C., new pair of glasses guy, he said that the character defects and the fears are the children of the ego. I needed to learn about all that. But first of all, I want to tell you why I called my talk the duh factor. This meeting is called Unshakable Foundation. Well, in order to get that unshakable foundation, I have to do what it asks me to do in how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who cannot, there are the cannots and the will nots who will not make the simple program a way of life because they can't be honest with themselves. And so I'm going to tell you a little story. What I have observed is there's people like me who came into AA and I did just enough to get by. I stayed sober, but I'm going to tell you something. I didn't really get serious about this work and thoroughly follow this path until I had 10 years sober. Painful? Yes. But I'm going to tell you my little adventure with this and why that happened. And I'm also going to say what I have observed is that there's a lot of people in these programs that kept going to rehabs and kept going out. Rehab, go out. Rehab, go out. I don't know how many they go to. Some I've known people that have gone to 20 rehabs. And then they finally hit that bottom and surrender and jump in with both feet. And they just start. They're thorough from the very beginning. And the thing is, I was in AA for 10 years, but I didn't jump in with both feet. So I just kind of trudged along. And I'll tell you what happened. Why? Because, I had my little pink cloud and because I was just so excited that I wasn't drinking anymore. And I wasn't drinking it or doing drugs anymore because of you guys. Because I had you guys to hang out with that were also not drinking and doing drugs. So to me, it was always a party. I couldn't believe that I had found this group of people or had joined actually this group of people and that we were on the same path. And of course I felt happy, joyous, and free at first because it was just such a accomplishment. And the thing is, I didn't realize because, I didn't like them, because I was with the hip, slick, and cool people in Hollywood, California. We don't like the talk about God meet. Oh no, they're going to talk about God again. We all look at each other, roll our eyes and big book study. No, let's go drink some coffee and shoot pool. But you see, I didn't know that was the disease of alcoholism. I didn't know that was the power of me. I didn't know that it was more important that I got to hang out with all the cool kids than jump in and thoroughly follow this path to get the recovery I needed to be happy, joyous, and free. Now, I ask a lot of questions. I mean, I read the big book, sort of. I worked the steps, but I always pick sponsors that weren't big book thumpers who, and I'm not recommending you follow in my footsteps. I'm actually telling you what happens if you're not willing to go to any lengths. But I survived and I finally got serious about it. So I'll get to that part of the story. But, and that's why I call it the duh factor, because you know what held me back? My defiance, my grandiosity, me wanting to be the man or the woman, be the, I mean, I was grandiose. I was defiant. I was sober, man. Shouldn't that be enough? And I had no idea that sober this disease was going to progress in my mind. It didn't matter if I was drinking or doing drugs. I was sober, and the disease progressed. So what happened was, that G word really bothered me. But when my first sponsor, who actually ended up going out and then asked me to sponsor her, and I'm like, no way, kid. But yeah, I mean, come on. AA is, especially in Hollywood, was really crazy. Not that it isn't crazy everywhere in the world, but I got to have the Hollywood thingy. And the thing is, I wanted to believe in a power greater than me, but my first sponsor, because she says, okay, what's your concept of a higher power? And I said, cruel and punishing. And at that time, she didn't point out that was an old idea. But she did say to me that, you could have a different higher power, like the one it talks about in the book, that is loving and caring and can help you. And I said, okay. But the thing is, I asked around, but I never knew how to form a relationship with that higher power. At 10 years sober, I joined this group called Prime Time in Los Angeles, and that is still my home group. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. So anyway, I'm going through this thing, and I'm learning that there's this thing called the ego that I get to smash. I love smashing things, man. Just let me at it. What do I get to smash? But I didn't really understand how the ego functioned along with my alcoholism and the power of me, and how damaging it was, how warped my thinking was. So I kept asking around, and then I started asking around because people are like, let go, let God, just turn it over. And I'm like, how? Well, you just do it. So I'm like, whatever. I mean, I know, like it says in the book, deep down inside, I always believed in a power greater than me. Come on, when I did LSD, I think that I met the creator a few times, but I mean, I've had spiritual experiences on drugs and alcohol. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't. And they used to call alcohol spirits, so it'll set it off. But I did not have a true connection with that power. That was all artificial. Until I came to AA, and I know there's a CA reading that says, we didn't read it tonight, but it says that we didn't come to these rooms to find a power greater than ourselves, but we did anyway. And that's what happened. That's what happened to me. My higher power has been working anonymously in my life, all my life. I look back, I sit here, and if I look back, I can't deny it. I have too many experiences of realness of my higher power bailing me out, of helping me get through any difficulty in my life with grace and dignity. Now that I'm sober and I live this program, I didn't used to get, before I really ask my higher power to please be my manager, please be the power of my life. I'm tired of living in the power of me, the power of the insane asylum, and so I'm suffering really bad for that first 10 years. I mean, half measures availed me nothing. I was just getting by. And my mind, my thought life was so unmanageable. that's what happens if I don't treat my alcoholism and my ego in the day I'm in, moment to moment to moment to moment. And the thing is, once I get to step 10, 11, and 12, it gives me simple directions how to treat my alcoholism. From the moment I wake up, I'm making contact with that higher power. All through the day, watching my thought life to see if any character defects or fears crop up. And in that moment when they do, because it doesn't say if they do, it says when they do, that I get to turn to that power and ask that power to remove it, which made me so happy because I learned that is I get to apply the 7th step in the moment I'm in. And that brings me closer to my creator. And then it tells me that I make amends if I need to right away, so I don't have to carry around that burden. And then it tells me I can do a nightly review, which I go, okay, how did I do today? And God can help. God helps me with all the steps. I need to ask God to help me with all the steps following the 3rd step when I'm signing that contract with this new manager. New manager, can you help me do my 4th step? Come on. In the big book, it tells me it's going to be a fact-finding and a fact-facing exercise. And the thing is, on my own power, I'm not going to find the facts and I'm not going to face them. I have a disease of perception. It's never me, it's you. So I'm living with this self-talking mind, and I'll never forget, I was at this Hollywood meeting, someone was at the podium, and they and they talked about that committee in their head, that self-talking mind, and everybody laughed. And all I could do is sit there, and I just started crying because I thought, oh, they've got it too. This is what being sober is like. And I was devastated. My mind was telling me I really couldn't function in the world at all because my mind was so negative, and it was complaining, and it was comparing, and it was criticizing. It criticized you, but it would also criticize me. That's my ego. My ego, Dr. Harry Tebow, which I love talking about him, and he was a shrink. He helped Marty Mann, who was one of the first women in AA, and he became Bill's shrink, and he became a member of AA by proxy. He was not an alcoholic or a drug addict, but he just loved that this thing was working. And I love Dr. Harry Tebow because he was a psychiatrist, and all of his colleagues, it's all very scientific, right? But he saw how a higher power, that people were having this spiritual awakening. And so he wrote this set of papers, and he talked about that. And I thought that was really brave of him. He was a pioneer talking about those kind of things. So this scientific batch of guys I don't know if there were any women in the psychiatric field back then. Maybe there was. I mean, I don't know what I don't know, right? I guess I can Google it. Thank God for Google. But but anyway, Dr. Harry Tebow wrote these papers in the ego factors versus surrender, and which part of the alcoholic must surrender. And it's the ego. You see, in that first 10 years, my ego had come back big time. And when I read this thing about the ego factors, when I hit prime time, I went, oh my God, there I am. My sponsor in prime time, she taught me about what is alcoholism and what is ego by taking me through those papers. I finally got to know it. I got to smash. I've been smashing it ever since, man, on a daily basis, moment to moment to moment to moment. And it's fun. It's fun to watch my mind and go, no, 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 wrong power. Pause, watch, pause, turn, ask. That's my 10th step, moment to moment, all day long. But anyway, Tebow will use the Freudian term for us. Her Majesty the baby, His Majesty the baby. We've shortened it to Queen baby, King baby. What does that mean? That means the world revolves around me, Her Majesty. It's all about me, please me. And I'm easily frustrated. Her Majesty is not pleased. I let everybody know. You make it onto my 4th step because I didn't get my way. And I'm always in a hurry. I don't want the word no. Don't stop me and don't tell me what to do. Defiance and grandiosity. And that's called immaturity. Now I start seeing that in me all the time. I can see it. I can see what I'm fault finding. I can see what I'm complaining, criticizing, comparing, competing, controlling, judging, when I'm getting angry, when I'm arrogant, when I'm self-righteous. And I learned about all this, well, partially in the ego factors, because what part, when I was, let's just say dry, I was in sobriety, I think they call it is, for that first 10 years. And when I look at it and how I had and how I violated all those adjectives and words I just threw out there that are my disease mind and my ego. I mean, I can see why I was so miserable. I was suffering all the time. Nothing was right. And if it was right, I was better than you, so I was cocky. Nobody likes a cocky person. I don't like cocky people. But boy, I expected you to like me. I could see it all in you, but I could not see it in me until I had that sponsor that laid it all out for me. And then I could start seeing it in me because I was paying attention to my thoughts. I started seeing how I had a bad anger problem. Every time I got angry, I could see it's because I wasn't getting my way. Every time I was judging people, it's because I was in fear of something, of not getting my way. And it says in the 7th step in the 12 and 12 that fear ignites my character defects. Then of course the character defects ignite more fear. They just keep going, man. If I light that fuse, whoo, I better put it out quick. And the 12 steps will put it out quick. Practicing that 10th step, moment to moment to moment to moment, watching my thoughts, watch, pause. The minute I hit pause, I slow down. Because remember in the ego factors, it says that I'm always in a hurry. When I had 30 days, I wanted 90 days. When I had 90 days, I wanted 18 months. 18 months, 5 years. You know, I'm always in a hurry. I'm always in a hurry. God, hurry up and give me the answer. I'm playing God with God. I'm a spoiled brat. It says that in the ego papers too, that I'm a spoiled brat. And so, you know, a lot of people talk about their inner child. I don't have an inner child. I have an inner brat. So, you know, and a little bit of my sassy inner brat is out today, but she's not in ego. She's in God land. She's in right size land. She's having a good time today with you guys and gals and whatever they and thems or whatever you want to be called. I want to respect that. And so I find out that drink is not the problem. But boy, I am so glad that the doors were open that the long timers had kept those doors open so that I could come in and stop drinking and doing drugs with all of y'all. And then eventually, although I was the half measures girl, at 10 years sober, I hit another bottom hard, and I had the biggest surrender of my life. And I needed that, man. I needed my ego cut down to size. I needed to feel that sick. I needed to feel that insane. That was my gift of desperation. That was at 10 years sober. And I'm just telling you, it doesn't have to be that way for you. You don't have to wait that long. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path right from the start. Down that same page and how it works, it says, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. And I've gone back and I've read how it works, each sentence, and thought about what it says and what it means, and fill up spiritually with it. I let it drop from my head to my heart because it says so much. If you want to have a really good time with this program, read how it works, one sentence at a time. Stop, think about what it says and what it means, and how powerful each sentence is. I mean, why are these guys begging me to be fearless and honest and thorough from the very start? I thought about it, and I thought, because they care about me. They want me to have what they have. They want me to have that true freedom, that happy, joyous life that they have. They're excited that I have this book, and they're just hoping and they're begging that I thoroughly follow this path. Now, it took me a little while. You don't have to wait that long. You don't have to suffer that long. But I tell you what, going to that primetime meeting and learning about what I was up against and how the disease centers in my mind, and that my thought life is warped, and that self-talking mind is my alcoholism in action, and that and then on page, I think it's 62, where it says, first thing I have to do is stop playing God. It doesn't work. And the pages before that, 60, 61, it shows me how I'm trying to play God, how I'm trying to run the show. And if I read that slowly in the first person, read each sentence and go, do I do that? Yeah. First I come off with all the sweet stuff, all of that endearing stuff that we use, the kindness, the generosity. There's another line in the book that says that I make decisions, that when I make decisions based on self, it starts the trouble rolling. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means I'm a self-seeker. I make a decision based on self because I want something out of the deal. And I worked on that with my higher power for a long time, because it's just like, okay, God, am I going to help this person out because I want something in return? And I'll never forget the first day I was completely honest with myself, and I said, no, I just want to help them out because I can. And I went, thank you so much, God. I have to give all the credit to God. If I don't give the credit to God, my ego is cunning, baffling, and powerful. It will try to take the power back. And then I'm in trouble again, because I'm in untreated alcoholism or addiction, untreated, whatever it is, drug and alcohol thinking. And so And so I've told you a little bit about what I was up against here and how grateful I was to finally be able to start seeing me. Although I could always see it in you, I could never see it in me. And of course, I always wanted you to forgive me when I was in my character defects, but the power of me didn't want to forgive you. You know, and I see that that's the power of me because I start watching, I start reading this material slowly. I start reading that actor wanting to be the director and in the I form and stop after each sentence and say, do I do that? And I start seeing me. And I start seeing, I am trying to play God. I want everybody to do what I want them to do. Her Majesty the baby. Now it's tying in with those the ego factors. Oh my God. I want to be the center of the universe. And if you don't please me, my little feelings get hurt. And I got to say that like that because I had to realize, and I don't know, this is just for me. I'm only sharing my experience. I started noticing how I take everything personally. I make everything about me. When I do that, I'm in my untreated alcoholism. And so I start seeing all this stuff. I think everybody should treat me like the queen I am. And if they don't, my little feelings get hurt. You make it onto my resentment list. And let me tell you something I found out about myself. When my feelings get hurt, it's not what the person said or did. It's what my mind told me about what the person said or did. Because the other person was not thinking about protecting my feelings. How dare they? Yeah, so I start seeing, it's my ego. You know, it's all my ego. Every time I'm upset, whenever I'm disturbed, there's something wrong with me. And it's always my ego. Always my ego. It's what my mind is telling me about a situation or a person. It's all my ego. So who's the creator of my suffering? Me. When I'm in the power of me, creator of the suffering. So we know what's wrong with me. Now we need to know how to fix it. This made me want to jump into step 2, and I hope I get to do that really quickly because the step 2, because I had a hard time with that. I didn't know how to form a relationship with the power greater than me, and step 2 helped me start to learn that. And having my primetime sponsor really helped me because she went through the step 2 and the 12 and 12 with me and asked me if I knew what an open mind was. And I said, yeah, I'm progressive. Look at me. And she said, no, it has nothing to do with how progressive your thinking is. Open mind is a mind that is not full of you and your old ideas and your opinions. And I went, wow. And she said, so what we need to do is you need to stop living in your prejudices about what a higher power is. See, my ego didn't want to give up the throne. It's not going to let me think favorably about a higher power because it does not want to be replaced. So it tells me all these old ideas. That's not going to work. You're an idiot for trying to, what? God, and so my sponsor said, you got to set, that's why I call the set aside prayer my step 2 prayer. My sponsor's like, you got to set aside all of that you think you know about that higher power. Have a new experience with the open mind. And it goes on to say in that step 2 thing is that I can be like a scientist, and that scientists research again and again, always with an open mind. I love science. I wanted to be a scientist. Cool. And so, but the last sentence in that step 2, I mean, I was going good. I'm going to be a scientist. I'm going to lay aside everything I think I know about a higher power for a new experience with an open mind. The last sentence in step 2 into 12 and 12, that I can be returned to sanity if, and always look for the word if in the books, because if is going to tell me what I need to do. A couple of examples here. God could and would if he were sought. God is not going to do anything if I don't ask God and talk to God and have a relationship with God. And in this instance, it says that I can be returned. This power will return me to sanity if I rightly relate myself to him. And I went, oh my God. Oh, I was going so good. Now I'm back to square one. I have no idea how to rightly relate myself to a higher power. And thank God, because this is all God. There was a speaker at my primetime meeting, and he said that if you meet somebody, you want to get to know them, what do? You spend time with them, you talk with them, you get to know them. Eventually, you might even trust them. And I could do that with a higher power. And I'm like, hot diggity dog. My ego would have never let me come up with such a simple application of building a relationship with a power greater than myself. Although I'm sitting here talking to my invisible power, I'm going to give this thing a shot because, man, I want to be those happy, joyous, free people I see in the meeting that actually have a relationship with a higher power. I'm going to give this thing a shot. So I sit in my room and I'm like, okay, I don't even know if you're there. I don't know if I believe in you, but I'm going to be a scientist. I'm going to give this thing a shot. I'm going to have my own experience trying to form a relationship with you. Now, it took some time because my default setting, it says in step 7, that default setting of the power of me, I didn't build that overnight, so it was going to be hard to crumble that. But in time, I have built an unshakable foundation with this power. I've talked to it. I've gotten to know it. I learned to watch, pause, turn, ask. And it takes practice, but man, the effort is so worth it. It is just like, I mean, I'm in heaven. Like 98% of the day, because I'm following the simple directions in 10 and 11, and I'm applying this in all my affairs. And then it says I'm having a spiritual awakening. I help others. And the thing is, a spiritual awakening means I need to stay awake. How do I do that? Well, step 10 does step 4 through 9, and step 11 does step 1, 2, and 3. And then step 12 is let's just have that big party of helping others and seeing how I can act outside of these. If I can bring all of this way of life out of the AA meeting into the street, or the 12-step meetings into the street and to all of society, it's wonderful. I have 1 minute and 20 something seconds left. So I'm going to tell you something about step 4. Step 4 really exposed me to my ego. I got to see that all that, what they did to me, basically, when I look at it, now I just got to do this quick, is because Her Majesty did not get her way. My little feelings were hurt because you did not do what I wanted you to do, give me what I wanted to, treat me the way I wanted to. And then I find out all of my character defects that ignites. And then, so in 6 and 7, I know what I'm asking to be removed. It's really great. And I know in step 10 what I'm watching for. I'm watching for all the stuff I found in that fourth column. And I get to start watching my ego. Oh, what they did to me. And then my fear inventory showed me how I was still trying to play God. I was still trying to manage my fears. And when I saw them, I went, God, I've not once asked you to manage these fears. Thank you for showing me where I'm still trying to play God. Now let's get to that sex conduct thing. After they asked me where I was selfish and all that stuff again, there's a paragraph after that, and I'm going to go over probably 30 seconds. There's a paragraph after that that says the next thing I need to do is to make a sane and sound ideal list of what I want my future romance relationships to be. Now, sane and sound sounds like I'm going to have to ask God to help me, right? So I asked God to help me make this, and guess what? I found that the sane and sound ideal list was all the spiritual principles, and that I not only wanted to be that woman in my romantic relationships, I wanted to be that woman in all my relationships. So resentment inventory found out the woman I don't want to be. Fear inventory found out how I was still playing God and not asking God to play God. And then the sex conduct inventory, I found out the woman I wanted to become. Wow. All in step 4. Anyway, I could go on and on, but I tell you what, I am glad that I finally hit bottom of the half measures group and jumped into it. And I love meetings that talk about God. And I love big book studies. And I love all of you. Thank you so much for asking me to speak, Isaac.
So we have Danny up first, please.
Thanks, Tanya. My name's Danny. I'm an addict. Texas, wow. Thanks so much. Incredible. Really, really good. My question for you is, and you sort of did go into it, but was there a specific event or, looking back now, was there something that happened that was the turning point after that 10 years of untreated alcoholism and pain? Thanks again.
Yeah, the turning point was it had progressed so bad that I didn't want to live anymore, because I said to myself, if this is being sober, I'd rather be dead. And then a friend of mine told me about Prime Time, and that was God once again working anonymously in my life. And I had heard the founder of Prime Time when I had 6 years sober, and I knew that was the answer, but I was in too much fear to drive across from Hollywood to Santa Monica, because my mind told me I wouldn't be able to find parking, that when I walked in the room, everybody would be looking at me because, and at my first time at the meet, it was all about me. And so I didn't go. But when my friend mentioned it, I went, I would have driven to the end of the world, because I was so mentally sick from this mind-powered disease. So I thank God for protecting me for that first 10 years and finally getting me into a place where I could get into what is our disease and how to treat it by these 12 steps. And I'm so grateful. Thank you for the question, Danny.
Thank you very much. And next we have Young, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Tanya. Hi, everyone. My name's Young. I'm a covered addict. Hey, T, birthday twin. Thank you so much. Always good to hear you. I was going to ask exactly the same question as Danny, so I'm just thinking of one on the fly. After you hit that bottom at 10 years and you were drawn towards some new teachers, how did things look different practically? How did you go from half measures into a way of living, a design for living? How did that kind of look? Thank you, T. Love you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got more recovery in the first 3 months of going to prime time and finally jumping in with both feet than I had gotten in the first 10 years. So I finally got to see what recovery felt like. And I followed my sponsor around like a little baby duck because I wanted to hear everything she had to say, because I wanted what she had. So that was a game changer. Instead of finding sponsors that let me get away with things, I had no idea that me doing Texas Tea Anonymous was killing me. I had no idea. But then when I was almost to the point that jumping off spot in the wrong direction, right? I finally reached nirvana and found a place. I was ready. And man, I just ate it all up, man. And I've been spoon feeding it in ever since, staying hungry. Thank you, Young.
That was great. Thank you so much. And Jen, come on in, please.
Hi, sorry, I was messing with the mute there. Hi, I'm Jen, I'm an alcoholic. Thank you so much for that share. That was so good and inspiring to listen to. My question was going to be the same as the guys, really. So I'm sorry, I haven't got a question. The touch and you answered that amazingly, which was great to listen to. I just want to say really quickly, the thing about being 10 years sober, physically, but mentally not putting the work in, it's something I really needed to hear today, because I've done that myself many times. I'm only recently sober again, and I can feel how your mind slips into that again. So thanks so much for that. It was a really good thing to hear today. And again, my question was going to be the same. So thank you so much.
I also want to say, I think it's the same thing, only I was in AA as people going in and out of rehabs. You know, they go in and out, and then they're finally teachable. I don't know how many years it takes. How many years did it take you, Young, before you finally, how many years were you jumping in and out of rehabs? 10?
10.
Yeah, it seems like maybe it's a 10-year thing. I don't know. But all I gotta say is you don't have to do it the way I did it or the way Young did it. But the silver lining is we're all here today and we're hungry, and that's what matters, because I want this way of life more than anything I've ever wanted in my life.
Thank you so much. And Isaac, you're in next, please.
Tanya, thanks everyone doing service. I'm Isaac, I'm a drug addict. Texas, thank you so much for being here with us today. It was so good to hear you. Thank you for your service. My question, one just came to me on top of the one I was going to ask. I'm going to cheat and kind of ask two. My first question is, was there a particular step or moment when you threw yourself into the program where you started to really experience a deep change take place, and what did that look like? And second question, do you have much exposure working with people who've been through a similar experience you were, of having a bit of time in sobriety, and if so, kind of how do you look for those people to work with? Thanks.
Yeah, first of all, the answer to the second question, yeah, I've had a lot of people that have some time put together that they call me, and I work with them as a sponsor, and they're so hungry for it by that time. They really take to it like the duck to water. What was the first question, Isaac? I already forgot.
Was there
I remember what you said now. It was when I heard, when my sponsor took me through that second step and also taught me what a real open mind is, and also when I learned about the ego factors, and I learned about the characteristics of alcoholism or the mind power disease of addiction, where I'm fault finding, never satisfied, superior, inferior, ego, all the character defects of the fears, and that was the power of me, and hearing that simple application of how to form a relationship with a power greater than myself. I was no longer intimidated. How am I going to talk to God? God, where's God? I was no longer intimidated from the first moment, because if I'm going to want to be friends with God, I need to just speak in a casual way. And so I wasn't scared to talk to that power after I heard if you want to get to know somebody, what do? It's so simple. You talk to them. You spend time with them. You get to know them. And the more time I spent with that power, the more I got to know that power, and I got to see it working in my life. And I saw how kind and gentle I don't know if your higher power talks to you, but mine talks to me in a kind and gentle way. And that anything that I need to learn how to be this completely new person. You know how it says that we are reborn? That's because I'm not going to live in the character of the power of self anymore. I need to build a new character, which means I get a whole new life, but I need that power to teach me how to not go to my character defects. I asked my higher power to teach me, can you teach me how to be more like you? My higher power doesn't have character defects. My higher power doesn't have fears. My higher power just has love, maturity, kindness, and all the other good stuff. And I asked my higher power, one of the biggest things, because I don't know about anybody here, but I always had a hard time communicating because I always brought my character defects into it. Either my arrogance or my anger or my fear. And when I started asking my higher power to teach me how to speak to others and to myself, because, my self-talking mind's mean to me too. Can you teach me how to talk to others and to myself the way you speak to me? And with the love and the kindness and the maturity. And see, so spending time with that power and getting to know it and seeing how I can ask it to show me how to do anything and to become that new woman that I discovered I wanted to be. Out of, who would have thought, out of the romantic conduct page of 69, I learned the woman I wanted to become. And so it was all about building that relationship with that higher power. God, I just got really so filled up. God's loving on me so hard right now, I can hardly stand it. That's the kind of high I like. Thank you for that question, Isaac. I got to get high. Spiritually lit.
Thank you so much. And our last question of the evening is Finley. Come on in.
Yeah, Finley, alcoholic addict. Yeah, thank you for your share. I really enjoyed it. Can really relate to the half measures, and that's what my question is going to be on. What does your day look like now compared to when you were doing half measures?
Can you ask me the question again, Finley? I'm sorry.
What does your day look like now compared to when you were doing half measures?
Oh my God! Don't get me started. Here's the deal. Once I started practicing that, what's it, page 84 to 88? Page 84 to 88, the simple directions of the 10th step, all through the day, moment to moment, doing my nightly review. God, how many times did I violate the 5 C's? God, can you help me see what I could do better? What could I have done instead? And then upon awakening, the moment I wake up, even if my mind is telling me, I just kind of brush that away and go, God, I surrender to you all my character defects. I divorce myself from all my character defects, my fears, but I know that I can't divorce myself without your power. So I'm going to have you be my manager today, and we're going to have a really good day together, because I'm going to practice that 10 step and watch my thoughts moment to moment. And when something crops up, I get to turn to you and ask you to remove it. How cool is that? So this is how I start my morning. I talk to God about all this stuff, and so that's how it's changed. I apply the simple directions, half measures. I'm going to do as little as possible to get by. I was suffering, but all my troubles were of my own making. I just had to get sick enough to surrender again. And I've surrendered so many times in the last 34 years. I look forward to surrendering. Surrender, watch, learn about myself, and just the other day, because, I've made a couple of mistakes lately. Can you believe it? Her Majesty has made some mistakes, but you know what? I was writing in my book. Thank you for showing me. I always write God in my book. Thank you for showing me I'm not perfect, for reminding me I'm not perfect. Because then I remember nobody else is perfect. I can forgive others. I can forgive myself. I see me and you and me. And so I don't really have to judge you anymore. Because guess what? We're all trying our best to grow and change, and you say something mean to me, I know there's something wrong with you, unless I really, or I'd ask you, did I do something? And then we can discuss it. But a lot of times people are just in a bad mood, and I get to remember, don't take offense, don't take it personally. Ask them, are you okay today? Is there anything I can do to help you out? Always being of service. So it's all in the book. All I gotta say is, don't wait 10 years to get in the book. Find somebody who's got what you want, and have them take you through the book, and stop and discuss it, and go back and read page 60 to 63 in the I form, and slow down, read each sentence, and see what it means to you, and am I doing it? And same thing with how it works. Read that, man. And if you really want to go for it, read that St. Francis prayer line by line, and pause after each line, and let it just fill you up spiritually. Can I do this? God, can you help me do this? On my own power, I can't do anything. I don't want to be that woman. I want to be the new woman that is completely dependent and reliant on that higher power. My best friend, man. Thank you.